welcome back to another episode of Ballers, Beers, and Banter. I'm your host, Dave. Here with me, one of them is free, one of them is an agent, Anthony and Moose.
Hello!
What's up?
Oh, baby. How you guys doing? You have a good weekend?
Had a great weekend. Very busy, but very fun.
Yeah, Moose has got his party shirt on.
Party shirt on.
It's 3 days in a row party shirts for Moose.
Yeah. We celebrated Christmas in July with family. Everybody's has at least one vaccination. Majority had 2 vaccinations. So
there's your Christmas gift right there.
That's it. We didn't really get a Christmas this year, so we busted it out in July. Had a big turkey dinner / lunch. It was absolutely phenomenal.
Oh, sounds fantastic.
Yeah,
I like Christmas in July. That's something we used to do as lifeguards at the outdoor pool. We used to have a Christmas in July celebration. It was awesome. A lot of fun. Anthony, what about you? What you up to?
I went up north with my girlfriend and her cousins and her sister. Barbecued.
Ooh.
Did some swimming in the lake. A lot of drinking and a lot of sun.
A lot of beers?
More wine and Bloody Caesars.
Oh. What do you call them? Bloody Caesars? Bloody. So for our American friends, Bloody Mary, right? And
yeah,
then
but
for us
Bloody
Canadians,
Marys don't have Clamato. Bloody Marys is tomato juice.
So you had a Caesar.
So yeah, that's the thing. When I went to the States and I've asked for a Bloody Caesar, they were confused. And I was like, with
that's because
Clamato, they're like,
it's called a Bloody Mary.
There's no such thing as a Bloody Caesar.
I know. So then I was like, but then I was explaining to them, I'm like,
but it's from 20 AD, A2 Brute. There was a Bloody Caesar.
Like I went to them, I was explaining, I'm like, Clamato juice. They're like, what's Clamato juice? I'm like, clam juice. They're like, oh, gross. And I was like,
which it is.
I'm like, so what do you guys have? They're like, Bloody Mary. I'm like, I guess I'll have that.
Regular clam juice is gross, but Clamato, luckily they pour so much sugar into Clamato juice that it's delicious. It's so good. Caesar's delicious.
It's awful.
Yeah.
Oh,
Bloody Caesar.
No, it's so good.
I want
and
no
Bloody
part of it.
Caesars with gin over vodka for me.
No, why are you still calling it Bloody Caesar? It's just a Caesar.
It's just a Caesar.
And then a Bloody Mary in the U.S. You don't have to Google it. Oh, you're looking at it. You have one right now?
So I'm drinking one of these.
Mott's Clamato Caesar. Easy. You can
Where
call them
did
Bloody
Caesar-
Caesars if you want, but it'd be weird because it would mean I don't know what you're doing.
Yeah, it'd be more like if
what
you
kind
were,
of spice is that?
It'd be more like if you're like angry at the bottle and you're like, there's Bloody Caesar.
Bloody Caesar.
Okay. Fair. So
just messing with you. But I'm glad you had a good weekend, bud. The sun and beers. I haven't had that in a while because now we're finally, hopefully, knock on wood, through this pandemic. So people are finally doing stuff.
But we're definitely not through this pandemic.
Not through, but like enough that we can do stuff and get outside and have get-togethers. And so now we're out in the sun. I was paddleboarding and scooting all weekend, and the beers will get you. I had to take some naps.
Can you elaborate on scooting, just in case?
Scooting is the official verb.
I'm envisioning you dragging your butt across the carpet.
I have been known. I have been known to do that. Like. I have been known to do that, but I was riding a scooter, the vehicle, the motorized vehicle. So it's. I think the verb is to scoot. I scoot. You scoot. We all scoot.
We all scoot.
And then we be scooting. So. I was scooting and stand-up paddleboarding. Super fun. But yeah, the sun will get you. Yeah. All right, guys. A very, very good episode for today. So for all you listeners out there, this is the episode you want to recap all of the changes that have happened in the NFL over the past 6 months or since last season ended. So if the last time you really paid attention was during season, or you've paid somewhat attention to things going on, you'll want to listen to this episode because we're going to talk about how people have changed places, their new teams, and specifically what we think about the new teams and positions they're in, because a lot has changed since the Tampa Bay Buccaneers won the Super Bowl over the Kansas City Chiefs. A lot has changed. So you're going to want to listen to this episode to brush up. But first, we have a few headlines I'm going to get into. Not many. Who's hitting us first? I think Moose. Whoever had him, just run him off.
I didn't. My headline was not that exciting.
Well, hit us with it. That's the one we got.
It was just that Adrian Peterson is looking healthy to be picked up by a team. He's still waiting. But who knows? Detroit scooped him up at the last second last season. So who knows? Someone might scoop him up at the last second this season. However, he has, I think he still has a little bit of gas in the tank. but it's underwhelming for fantasy.
And just to clarify, Moose, you're saying scoop him up. Someone will scoop him up, not to be confused with scoot.
No, well they
Okay,
might.
so they might scoot him.
They might scoot ahead of another team to pick him up.
Okay. So they might scoot ahead to scoop him.
Or maybe he's
they might
just so
scoot to
old
scoop.
he'll be scooting around on the field.
Or he'll be in one of those one of those motorized wheelchair ones and that kind of scooting.
Exactly.
What do they call those? Ramblers? What are those? I'm just thinking of the Seinfeld episode where George Costanza pretends, or he was like limping one day and they assume he had a cane. They assume he needed the cane for a disability. And then he goes all out and they buy him an electric motorized wheelchair and he's just going all in. He's like, yeah, totally. Oh, great episode. Love Seinfeld.
And then I guess the only other noteworthy thing is that, or if it's even noteworthy, is Ted Ginn Jr. has retired.
Noteworthy. I think it's noteworthy. Played many. He played like 12 seasons or something. I saw in the headline. I was like, what? I feel like yesterday he was like a rookie. It's crazy. Time flies. Time flies when you're having fun. Time flies when you're playing in the NFL. And time flies when you're scooting. Those three things.
He was just Ted Ginning out before we knew it.
He came in Ted Ginn Jr. and retired Ted Ginn Sr.
Anthony's just too tired to even
Anthony
remotely tolerate this kind of
too
behavior.
much sun for Anthony. We'll get him riled up. We'll get Anthony riled up and then we'll get going.
Oh yeah, it won't take much.
I'm sure. Before we get into our main topic, I want to shout out two of our new subscribers on YouTube. If you're not already subscribed to us on YouTube, get on it. Go hit that bell. We are Ballers, Beers, and Banter on YouTube. And it's pretty entertaining to watch us. You can see Moose's party shirt right now. You can see how tired Anthony visibly looks right now after his weekend of partying.
Yeah.
And you can see how beautiful my tan is right now. I'm just loving my glow.
Yeah, you're definitely
It looks more red.
Yeah, you were definitely wearing
beautiful.
Definitely wearing sunglasses today for a good portion of the day.
I did. I sunscreen up, but I sweat. I just sweat out. It's just
no. Like
it's as if nothing happened.
You have a very severe sunglasses tan.
So you can't see it unless you come on the YouTube channel. So come check it out. Check us out on YouTube, as well as send us all your information on whatever platform you want. Instagram, Twitter, 3B Fantasy Pod on all those, including gmail.com. I want to shout out Kerry Kelso and Michael Wilson, two of our new subs, and Kerry Kelso, who commented on our YouTube video, they said it on Reddit segment, loved his energy. We appreciate it. And thanks for subscribing and following. All right. We ready to get into it, guys?
Let's do it.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So we're going to start with the most exciting position of free agency. It was an absolute carousel at the quarterback position in free agency this year. So much has changed. So if the last time you watched or paid attention to what was going on was the Super Bowl and you're tuning in now, strap yourselves in because a lot has changed at the quarterback position.
Not to be confused with the Ferris wheel.
Yes, not to be confused with the Ferris wheel. A carousel. Lot of quarterbacks have changed hands. So I'm going to recap this super quick, and then I'm going to ask you guys some important questions. So here we go. Number one, Carson Wentz was traded to the Indianapolis Colts. He is reunited with his former coach, Frank Reich. Anthony?
And it feels so good.
Thank you. Matthew Stafford.
I still have not heard the song, by the way.
Oh my
sent
gosh.
it to you.
I neglected to listen.
We should add a clip. Moose, add a clip. Do your magic and put a clip of it in the YouTube.
We'll see.
At the end. Okay, we'll see.
They might ban us. They might, because we don't have the...
All right. So Carson Wentz is in Indianapolis, which means we project Jalen Hurts to be the starter in Philadelphia for now. So those are two changes. Matthew Stafford.
You're just going to globally make that projection for all three of us?
Do you have a different projection?
Yeah, he of course he
Well,
does.
Joe Flacco?
I mean, it could be until they it's weird that they haven't named
Who is
Jalen
also
Hurts
on
the
a new
starter.
team.
Yeah.
Joe Flacco.
Yes, technically two new QBs on the team. Okay. Matthew Stafford was traded to the Los Angeles Rams. The other way went Jared Goff and a boatload of draft picks. So Goff is the quarterback for the Detroit Lions. Matt Stafford, quarterback for the LA Rams. Very exciting. We'll get into the details here. Just stay with me. Ryan Fitzpatrick, or Fitzmagic as we like to call him on this show, is the quarterback of the Washington football team, which means we project Tua Tagovailoa to be the starter for the whole season with the Miami Dolphins. In Houston, we do not know. Houston, we have a problem. We do not know what the news is with Deshaun Watson. He is holding out. He has other things going on, allegations and such against him that we don't get into on this podcast. So we're not sure what's going to be happening with Deshaun Watson or what team he's playing for. So the starter in Houston could be Tyrod Taylor, could be the rookie Davis Mills. We don't know. We'll talk about that later. Rookie quarterbacks, Zach Wilson should be starting for the New York Jets. Trevor Lawrence starting for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Two other rookies, we're not sure if they're going to start, but Trey Lance was drafted by the San Francisco 49ers and Mac Jones for the New England Patriots. We'll get into those. Some people on new teams, Teddy Bridgewater.
Wow.
What's
you're
that?
You're going to leave out another quarterback that could start? Justin Fields?
Oh, sorry, Justin Fields. I have him written down right here. Because
Okay.
it's also a new quarterback. So Andy Dalton is new to the Chicago Bears from the Dallas Cowboys. He is the day one starter, according to the Chicago Bears coaching staff. Justin Fields, the rookie, I think by week 3 will be starting. I don't know how you guys feel about that. We can talk about that later. And then finally, Sam Darnold is the quarterback for the Carolina Panthers, traded from the Jets. So he is there. And then Teddy Bridgewater was picked up by the Denver Broncos. And I'll talk to you guys about him or Drew Lock starting there. Oh, and lastly, Drew Brees retired. If you didn't know that, he gone. His career is done. He's going to be going up to the booth for commentating. So Jameis Winston or Taysom Hill starting for the Saints. Wow. That's your recap. You're welcome at the quarterback position. Did I tell you it was nuts or what?
Look at all those chickens.
Well, I don't think you mentioned that Phillip Rivers also retired, which is why Carson Wentz is
Phillip Rivers also retired. And Tom Brady didn't, in case you're wondering.
In case somebody was like, I want to draft Phillip Rivers.
Yeah, and if you were thinking that coming to this episode, you definitely want to be following us and listening to this podcast, because we would have advised you against it either way, retired or not. So, gentlemen, so much information there, but now let's give our listeners what we actually think about these moves. And we've already talked about this on other episodes of the podcast, but we want to recap it here for them so they have a nice little concise package to listen to. So I want you to rank the following quarterbacks on their new teams in order of who you think, how they'll finish the season in fantasy. Carson Wentz, Matthew Stafford, Ryan Fitzmagic, and Sam Darnold. Wentz, Stafford, Fitz, and Darnold boy. How do we rank those 4 QBs on their new teams?
I'm going to go number 1 for me, Stafford. Number 2, I'm going to go Wentz. Number 3, Darnold. Number 4, Fitz.
Wow. Well done. I like that. So
Anthony I like Fitz on Washington.
Yeah.
But I think
but you're high on Darnold since you roped us into a beer bet that he'd be top 12 QB this year.
Yeah.
Top or 15. It was one of those two. We'll have to check.
Yeah.
Moose, do you agree with those rankings? I think I got to go with Anthony on those rankings. I like Stafford, Wentz, Darnold, Fitz. Especially with this news about Taylor Heineken, the backup on Washington, threatening for the starting job.
It's such a garbage headline.
I'm worried.
It's such a garbage headline.
Darnold won't lose his job, but Fitz could.
I think I have Fitz ahead of Darnold.
Okay, so you would go Stafford, Wentz, Fitz, Darnold?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, out of those 4 QBs, who do you think is going to have the biggest impact on the fantasy players around their team? So, okay, thanks for drumming in your answer right away. So Carson Wentz on Indy, so we're talking Jonathan Taylor, Michael Pittman, maybe T.Y. Hilton. Matt Stafford, big names on the Rams, right? We got Cam Akers, we got Robert Woods, Cooper Kupp. We have Tyler Higbee alone, no Gerald Everett there. For Fitzmagic, we have Terry McLaurin, Antonio Gibson, Curtis Samuel. We'll talk about him, new team. And Sam Darnold, you got DJ Moore. You got Robbie Anderson. You got Christian McCaffrey. Whoa. You got Dan Arnold, the tight end over there. You got the rookie, Terrence Marshall. Who's going to have the biggest positive impact on those players?
Okay, so to clarify my answer here, are you asking compared to last year?
Yeah, compared to last year.
Well, then it's Fitz.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's Fitz. It's 100% Fitz.
Yeah.
Okay. I might lean Carson Wentz.
There's no way. Like Washington was so garbage. Like there's no way. Like he can only make that team way
I don't know
better.
if they were so garbage. Like Antonio Gibson before getting injured was the 4th running back number 4 in the year, and Terry McLaurin finished 20th in half PPR. So they weren't garbage.
So this is how I look at it. We know Fitz, even with his old age, the man's going to air out the ball, and Washington's always been or in recent history has been a defensive rushing team. So I mean, we Moose talked about it endlessly that Terry McLaurin needs a quarterback that can pass the ball. So that's going to be great for him. Curtis Samuel's the number 2 on the team. He's going to get a lot of targets. Antonio Gibson, it's just going to make Antonio Gibson better with veteran QB. And when you look at the other guys, like with Jared Goff, Kupp and Woods have been productive. So I mean, Stafford is a better option at QB, but it doesn't get that much better for them. Maybe slightly for one of them. Exactly. And I think with Wentz there, like we always talk about like him now being under Frank Reich, like everybody is hoping that he gets back to how he played that year. What was it? 4 years ago when he was on pace to be the top fantasy scoring quarterback before he got injured.
And league MVP. Yeah.
League MVP. But I don't think he's that type of QB anymore. I think he'll be good, but I think with the young talent on the team, I don't think it gives everyone a boost. I think he'll have a couple guys that he wants to go to, but I don't think it'll have the biggest fantasy impact on the entire team. And then the same thing with Darnold. Anderson and DJ Moore, Robbie Anderson, that is, they're going to do, like, they were good with Teddy Bridgewater, and so was McCaffrey when he was playing. So, I think
it's almost the reverse.
What do you mean?
That DJ Moore and Robbie Anderson are going to make Sam Darnold better.
Yeah, I would.
That's true. That's true for sure.
The other way around.
Better.
Yeah,
Carolina in general, including coaching staff, will make Darnold better than he was on the Jets. But there's some like I'm a little biased because I've had my shares of DJ Moore in fantasy, including Dynasty. But there was a drop off for Robbie Anderson after halfway through the season. Like he was on fire. He was a top 12 wide receiver. And DJ Moore had some big games. I think he had 4 games of like 4 catches for 95 yards, something like that. Not many touchdowns though. I think there's more there. I think there's more room there. So I think Darnold could be a dark horse for that Carolina offense. It could be a very potent fantasy offense in Carolina. But yeah, looking at it.
But in terms of improvement,
yeah.
Like Washington,
like McCaffrey is still going number 1
to improve.
Right? Yes, McCaffrey, and he didn't play last year. So yeah. You're right. Wentz is up there though. I think Wentz could really be impactful for those.
He would be the
receivers
second one.
Yeah. It's close for me. But I'm excited. I'm excited about those prospects. Michael Pittman, put it down, write it down. Michael Pittman, Curtis Samuel, write those down.
We're high on him.
And
Paris
also
Campbell?
probably Paris Campbell. And you got to go back and listen if you're haven't already listened to our sleeper episodes and our Marquis de la mid-round. Moose, hit me.
Marquis.
Just so good. You're going to want to listen to those episodes because we talk about those players in depth. Okay, guys, same type of deal, but with rookie/second year QBs who are now starting or should be starting, Moose. I want you to rank these 4 QBs: Trevor Lawrence, Jalen Hurts, Tua Tagovailoa, and Zach Wilson. Lawrence, Hurts, Tua, Wilson. Rank them. And this might be more for people playing Superflex or 2 QB leagues, if we're being honest.
I think that's the order. The order you gave it in.
What order did he give it in?
Lawrence, Hurts, Tua, Wilson.
Yeah, I would agree.
And then you know where I stand. I would go Jalen Hurts first, and then Trevor Lawrence. I guess I gotta go Tua. I don't know what to, I don't. I hope all the best for Zach Wilson, but I'm not convinced yet. We'll see. Could be a new.
It's the Jets.
Could be the next Johnny Manziel.
Yeah, the only reason I have Zach Wilson at 4th over Tua is because he's playing on the Jets.
Yep. Fair.
And I mean,
although
you're not
you
a
have
Miami guy
expressed
either.
The same interest about Miami, yeah, the same disinterest.
Yeah, but I think Miami has shown that they can be a successful team, whereas the Jets have, not
Tua
so
was
great.
6-3 as a win-loss record with Miami, starting with Miami last year. Okay, now out of those 4, who will be the most impactful or biggest improvement for their teams compared to last year?
I think Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, Trevor Lawrence
by a mile.
I think
he's going to go Hurts,
right?
Well, he's going to go Hurts.
No, I mean, you're right about Trevor Lawrence because if we look at the quarterback play last year, Gardner Minshew played a bit, hurt his thumb, wasn't playing. We had Mike Glennon in there. We had Jake Luton in there. It was poor. It was poor. So new coach, Urban Meyer, new head coach, total new offense. They brought in a ton of new pieces. I think that is for sure number one. And then Jalen Hurts would be number two for me.
But yeah, I don't know what the exact headline is, but since we're talking about the Jacksonville offense here, a headline to note is that it's been declared that James Robinson will be, a very big factor in the running game.
I do declare.
Yeah.
Which is important to note because there's a lot of hype on Travis Etienne because he was taking snaps at wide receiver. This is the rookie, Travis Etienne, rookie running back. So people are thinking, oh man, Travis Etienne's going to be a gold mine at fantasy. But James Robinson was great last year. Finishes the RB5 on the year for half PPR, 5 or 6. He was fantastic. So yeah, I think he's been faded, but I think don't fade him too much.
No, I wouldn't fade him.
Another potential marquee. I can do it.
Ooh, that was pretty good.
There's not as many R rolls as Moose, but a couple.
You gotta quit a couple hours while you're ahead.
Continuing with the quarterback position, who do you think will start day one for their team? Starting with the Denver Broncos, Teddy Bridgewater or Drew Lock?
Bridgewater.
I honestly, it could go either way.
And who do you like better for fantasy? For the fantasy options on the team, who'd you rather?
Bridgewater.
Yeah, I would say Bridgewater.
So I think Locke will be the day one starter, but very strong possibility he loses his. I think they'll go with him because it's easier to move off of him than to go the other way.
Which I think is a terrible outcome for the offense because that never pans out.
Right, but I mean, if they're going to give him one more shot this year, then you might as well start the year with him. And then if it's no good, then he's gone. Right? You don't.
I just think he's going to lose the
in camp,
the battle in camp. I think he's too inconsistent. Where, nobody is happy if they have Bridgewater as their starting QB, but I mean, he was pretty consistent. I mean, he is injury prone, but look, fantasy wise, Robbie Anderson took a leap. DJ Moore does his up and down as usual, but he was still effective. McCaffrey, when he was there, Mike Davis, he made Mike Davis look good. I mean,
if you look at the tape last year, Teddy Bridgewater had a really tough time throwing the ball. So a lot of those passes were like slants to Robbie Anderson. They were short passes, and they were getting, and DJ Moore, talk about yards after the catch, big time with DJ Moore. So it concerns me. I think you're right. Decision making and leading an NFL offense, Teddy Bridgewater better at this point, but potential for more fantasy output, Drew Lock has a better arm than Teddy Bridgewater. So if he can figure out the other pieces, he would have more upside to help those fantasy options because he can launch the ball down the field. But you're right. Decision making was not good last year. So no, a lot of INTs. All right. Guys, Chicago Bears. Anthony Chicago Bears. Who's starting? Andy Dalton or Justin Fields? Do you believe the coaches that it's definitely Andy Dalton day one?
Yeah, I do.
And who do we want to start?
I think honestly, you want Andy Dalton to start. You want Andy Dalton
for fantasy?
Oh, for fantasy, no.
Oh, okay.
No, thank you. But for the Bears,
for the Chicago Bears.
But for Fields to be a great NFL quarterback, I think he needs to sit behind Dalton for a little bit. If it's just a tire fire with Dalton there, don't even throw him into the fire when they're playing tough teams, maybe a little bit like Jalen Hurts, or I like to start him towards the end of the season just to get him some reps when it doesn't matter. But unless he's just a freak of nature in camp and it's just night and day as far as talent between the two, I would say he's got to sit a little bit. But Dalton will start.
All right. San Francisco 49ers. Jimmy G or Trey Lance?
It's Jimmy G.
Who we like in his day one starter? Jimmy G? You're assuming he's not going to get hurt during camp? Knock on wood.
Yeah.
Everybody healthy.
That's the assumption.
Starts.
Yeah. And we've talked about this before, but who you like better for fantasy options? Trey Lance or Jimmy G? Tough one. This was a tougher one.
I'm gonna say Jimmy G.
Yeah, I'm gonna say Jimmy G.
Okay. I like Trey Lance at his position. If Trey Lance is starting, I kind of like him as a QB option. I don't know.
It's the unknown of what he could deliver, right?
good upside there, but yeah, it's a tough one. I might go Trey Lance. I'm gonna go Trey Lance. All right, guys, sticking with quarterbacks, almost done. A couple more questions for you. Will Jameis Winston be as good for Michael Thomas as Drew Brees has been in the past few seasons?
No.
So not prime time Drew Brees, but recent Drew Brees, like last 3 years.
Oh.
I would say so.
Well, hold on. Michael Thomas broke the receptions record 3 years ago, right, Anthony? When did you win? You had him. 2 years ago that he broke the record?
Yeah.
I'm going to say the only reason that I could see Jameis Winston hindering Michael Thomas is just when he throws an interception. That's it. But other than that, I mean,
which did happen 30 times the last time he was a starter.
Yeah, but I mean, for fantasy, he also lit it up. So
yeah,
I mean, that's the thing. For fantasy, I don't see why he wouldn't be lighting Michael Thomas up.
Right.
I like it. I like it.
And when you consider that the other wide receivers are, quite a few tiers below Michael Thomas.
Oh, they're not even close. Yeah. Oh, you mean the other receivers on the team?
Yeah.
Yeah, not even close, right?
So you would have to assume that, Michael Thomas can be that primary receiving target. I mean, Alvin Kamara's there too, but
if that's the case, like, where would you draft Michael Thomas then this year, guys? Because he's been faded, but I mean, we're talking about the number one wide receiver on the year 2 seasons ago.
Give me hold on. This is like a big assumption that Jameis Winston's going to be as good as he was in Tampa. I mean, he could be a disaster. He hasn't played in 2 years. So
with that risk, where do you draft him?
3rd or 4th round, maybe.
Fourth he's a steal in the 4th for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, so you don't think he doesn't creep into the second round for you?
With before it's like Michael Thomas, without a doubt, you would take as your number one receiver, but now you're just like, you see him there, you're like, and then you're like looking which other receivers are around.
Yeah, so the risk here is that Jameis Winston forms a better connection with Traquan Smith or Deontay Harris, and then Michael Thomas sort of loses out. That's the problem with a new quarterback. So they come in, they make new sort of relationships, new connections downfield. So the assumption is that, yeah, of course, Michael Thomas is that top tier wide receiver. So the assumption is that he would get the most
targets
from his quarterback. But I think it's kind of yet to be determined. And Michael Thomas also coming off an injury year. So he might be, a little bit slower potentially. So I think for redraft, it's really yet to be determined. What New Orleans is going to be.
So a little bit of risk there.
Yeah.
But could be tons of reward.
Tons of reward for sure. For sure. But if you take him, you got to take all those things into consideration.
For sure.
Not to mention if there's some kind of wild split between Taysom and Winston, and what's Taysom going to do with the ball,
Yeah.
Fair enough. So listeners, you heard it here first on Michael Thomas. Last QB question before we move on to other positions. QBs, just so much drama. Would you draft Deshaun Watson? So listeners out there, just Google Deshaun Watson. If you haven't already heard, you'll see. There's a lot of stuff going on. Would you draft Deshaun Watson this year in redraft? If so, when? Which round? Roughly.
You could probably get him near the later. I would take him as my backup. I would take it as my second. I don't often draft a second QB, but I would highly consider it because
why not?
Because the majority of people in leagues are not going to be drafting him. So if he's still around in the last couple of rounds and you're set up at every other position, why not? Because if he does end up playing this season, it's just ridiculous.
You just got a potential league winner.
You won the lottery.
Yeah. And I've seen a lot of mock drafts where he goes undrafted, or people grab him in like round 10 plus, and you're like, oh yeah, Deshaun Watson, that's probably a good play, So put it on your radar that why not? It's worth it at that point.
And all his legal issues are sort of looking like they should be resolved closer to the end of the season. So even if somebody does draft him, just watch what happens to him, because the likelihood is they'll need to drop him to pick up for other positions. So be prepared to pick him up in the back half of the season like I said, when all his legal issues are likely to be settled, and he potentially comes in and and wins you a championship.
100%.
Hundo P.
All right, moving on to wide receivers, gentlemen.
Yep.
Let's do it.
/ tight ends. Not a lot of action at tight end, but we'll go wide receivers. All right, recap. Listeners, strap in. Julio Jones is a Tennessee Titan. Will Fuller, Roman numeral 5, is a Miami Dolphin. Curtis Samuel is a Washington football team member. Corey Davis is a New York Jet. Kenny Galladay didn't play last year. He's a New York Giant this year, though. Emmanuel Sanders is a Buffalo Bill. Marvin Jones Jr., Jacksonville Jaguar. AJ Green, still playing. He's an Arizona Cardinal. David Moore is a Carolina Panther. John Brown is a Las Vegas Raider. John Ross, not to be confused with John Brown. I always get those guys mixed up. John Ross, the speedster, also a New York Giant. I think Dante Pettis is there too, right, Moose?
He is, but they signed him last season.
Okay. Keelan Cole is a Jet. And then Gerald Everett, tight end, is a Seattle Seahawk. And the following people are Patriots, but you could pretty much disregard it after this because we don't draft Patriots. Jonnu Smith, Hunter Henry, Kendrick Bourne, and Nelson Aguilar. There have been other signings, but these are the, we got the significant ones. So let's play this game. I'm going to ask you better, worse, or the same. So these players, these wide receivers or tight ends on new teams, will they be better, worse, or the same? Starting with the one we all want to talk about, Julio, the Great Jones. Better, worse, or the same than last season?
The same as last season.
I'm sorry, can you say the 3 names again?
The 3 names?
It's just one name.
No, just Julio. Will Julio be better, worse, or the same than last year? As a Tennessee Titan versus a... so are we factoring that he was injured last year, Anthony?
Well, I think you have to factor it. Like, I'm looking at him. If we're comparing to last season, I think he's still injury prone. He's 1 year older, as everybody gets 1 year older. And I mean, like, he's still injury prone. He's still super talented. So some games he'll destroy your fantasy opponent, and then another week he'll let you down because he's probable or questionable, and then he'll start, and then he just will be a distraction.
So what did you say, Anthony? You said the same?
I said the same.
I'm going with worse.
Wow.
I'm
going better because just on the fact if he's on the field more, if he's healthier, he will be better. And then in terms of his situation, his glory days with Matt Ryan, he was the best wide receiver in the NFL, right? And one of the best for fantasy. So it'll be tough to return to that, but certainly he'll be better than last season. I think he has the potential to return to wide receiver 1 status, but should be at least a solid wide receiver 2. And if you look at his injury history, I know, Anthony, like I had him last year in the league, and the frustrating thing was he would play, but was injured. So you would start him. That's what I'm saying.
Questionable. He plays, and you're
like, well, I have to start him, and then he doesn't actually catch anything. But and I know he's getting older, but in his previous seasons, played full games, right? Like I'm looking at 16, 15, 16. Like he plays most of the season.
I know, and that was
last year, really.
But that was my argument last year, that I've had him every year, and last year was the first year that he really burned me, because I remember I drafted him in the dynasty because I was drafting to win and have some youngsters, but I took Julio Jones. Everybody's like, ooh, that's a bold one because he plays hurt. Won. But I won, and he had his last good season. But I think now he's on the decline, which I'm not like Moose's prediction that he'll be worse is not a bad prediction. I mean, he's getting older. The injuries are an issue.
He's also sharing the field
with
substantially better players than he was.
Calvin Ridley.
Calvin Ridley's pretty good.
Yeah,
Calvin Ridley was the best receiver in fantasy for first 6.
But he's sort of an up and coming guy. But now you got AJ Brown, you got Derrick Henry on the field as well.
Yeah, Derrick Henry.
Those are guys who really, I mean, especially Derrick Henry eats into a lot of targets, and I'm just not convinced that with Julio Jones's
he eats into touches.
Yeah, with Julio Jones's history.
As far as his injury history is just, it's not looking good. But Dave could be right too, because he finished, I think, in the late 30s of overall fantasy scoring for wide receivers. I mean, he just needs a couple games to pass that. Like, it's not hard to play better than he did if he's still the same
Yeah, and I mean,
somewhat
he's
talented.
still got like his healthy games. Week 1, 20 points. Week 6, 29. 17, 13, 13. He had some good games. And that's like all yardage too. So interesting. So we all had different opinions. We had a same from Anthony, we had a worse, we had a better.
I think that's what worries me is that it's just yardage. Like, I don't think he's going to get peppered as much as he did from Matt Ryan.
Yeah, that's it.
That's what worries me is that he doesn't get a lot of fantasy points from touchdowns. And there's a lot of other guys. But that's what my point is. AJ Brown is, and Derrick Henry gets a lot of yards. So if he's only getting yards, I just don't think he's going to get the ball as the focal point of that Falcons offense. I don't think he's going to see that same kind of play in Tennessee.
Mm-hmm. He could. You're right. We don't know what's going to be, but he could end up being a kind of red zone target for Ryan Tannehill, especially because AJ Brown's going to get a lot of attention in that regard. So we will see. All right, better, worse, or the same. Will Fuller, Roman numeral 5 with the Dolphins.
Worse.
I got to go worse because he was wide receiver 4 when he got suspended on the year, and he had Deshaun Watson. So probably less quarterback play. There's more competition there. He doesn't have whatever fancy juice he was taking to get suspended.
I don't think his performance will be enhanced in Miami.
Yeah, it'll be regular. Yeah. All right. Curtis Samuel with the Washington football team. He was on the Carolina Panthers last year. Will he be better, worse, or the same?
Better.
Yeah, I would tend to say same or better.
I'm going better, way better. And if you want to know why, listen to our Marquis de la Mid-Round episode that featured Curtis Samuel. Corey Davis, a New York Jet. He was on the Tennessee Titans last year, did very well. He had a career year for him with the Titans. Better, worse, or the same?
Same.
Same's pretty good. Same's good.
Yeah, I think the same.
Same's good.
It's same, but like I'm not thrilled about it.
Right. I think the safe play is the same. I don't think we can say better. You could say worse. You could make arguments for worse because it's the Jets, and we have no idea what Zach
Wilson make an
Wilson's
argument for better because he's the number 1 there.
True. That's true.
Where he was the number 2 behind AJ Brown.
Yet to be determined. He's the veteran. I don't know if he's better.
A lot of hype. Well, they paid him, I think, what was it, $27 million guaranteed, 3-year contract. So they paid him. Their plan is to be number 1. But Elijah Moore, the rookie, is supposed to be very, very good. So he could creep into that territory pretty quickly. But yeah, Corey Davis was pretty reliable last year. He had, I think, one stinker, and the rest was really solid last year. Okay, Kenny Golladay. Better, worse, or the same? So he didn't play much last year.
Can only be better.
So
yeah.
Okay, hold on. So let's take Kenny
G.
Let's take Kenny G from 2 years ago, where I think Anthony, if you could drum it up, I believe he was number 4 wide receiver in 2019 for half PPR. Scored like 12 touchdowns. Of course, he had Matt Stafford throwing him the ball in Detroit, and we love Matty Stafford. Now he's got Daniel Jones and the Giants. So will he be better than that season?
I don't think so. I think he'll be more closer to the same.
Was it number 4, Anthony? Is it number 4? Does memory serve?
I'm pulling it up. It's good.
We had some people trade for him in several leagues because he was a
freak of nature. So this is what we're thinking.
2019.
2019, wide receiver. He was.
How's it taking this long?
Because I have to put all the settings, the correct ones.
He
was number 6.
Number 6, wide receiver number 6 in the year. Better, worse, or the same than wide receiver number 6?
Same.
Same would be.
I think it'll be worse.
I would say worse, but
not like terrible. He won't be terrible, but I think he'll be a top option in fantasy as a wide receiver. But I think.
So like where in the top?
Stafford's. He's a wide receiver 2. I think he's a solid wide receiver 2.
Yeah, I think he'll
high
be
end wide receiver 2.
Between 12 and 20.
Because like, are you guys considering worse being like he was 6th and now he's 7th?
No,
like I'm considering worse being like considerably worse. But I mean,
we can give you some leeway. Like if he's 7, 8, 9, sure. But then beyond that, he's worse.
But if he, like for me, like going from 6 to finishing between 12 and 20, so he's not a wide receiver 1, so he shouldn't be drafted as a wide receiver 1. I'm looking at him as a wide receiver 2, maybe a high end, maybe middle of the pack wide receiver 2. So it depends. Like if he's going that late for me, I'm probably not. Or if I'm going to take him that late, I probably won't get him. So people are going to be a little higher on him. I think Daniel Jones is still trying to find his way in the NFL, and I don't think he's as solid as Matt Stafford as a passer. So they have to develop the chemistry. Galladay is a super talent, but I think finish in sixth is a tall order for this season.
Tall order, as tall as Kenny G. All right, moving on. I have a couple more wide receivers for you, but these are less impactful players, maybe by themselves for fantasy, but they could have a great impact positively or negatively on the other players on their team. So for the following players, will they positively or negatively or not impact at all the other players on their team? So Emmanuel Sanders is a Buffalo Bill. Will he positively or negatively affect Stephon Diggs, Gabe Davis? And Josh Allen. We could throw Josh Allen in there.
Can we have a neutral? Can there be a neutral?
Or no effect? Yeah.
Yeah, I think no effect.
Okay.
Yeah,
same for all those players?
Yeah. He's just replacing John Brown. So it was fine for them last season. So
I would say it negatively affects Gabe Davis, but positively affects Josh Allen, and same for Stephon Diggs.
So you think Gabe Davis will have less than potential 11 touchdowns, even though it was the same situation?
Because Cole Beasley is now, you can argue, behind him, and if he made those catches, he
John Brown was on and off the field and not super reliable. I think Emmanuel Sanders is a reliable target, so it'll be really good for Josh Allen to have someone.
He wasn't very reliable in New Orleans.
He didn't get thrown the ball very much, but then when they started to throw it,
it's just he dropped it a lot, so it didn't look like he was getting the ball a lot.
So I know Emmanuel Sanders is older. I'm not expecting him to return to the greatness we saw from him, but if you look at his season where he was Denver/San Francisco, you look at his other seasons in Denver and Pittsburgh.
That was a long time ago.
Not that long ago. Wasn't that long? It was about 3 seasons ago where he was very good. So I don't think he's going to be.
He played New Orleans. He played in San Francisco. And then, so that's almost like 3-4 years ago that he was playing in Denver.
He played 1 year for the Saints, I believe. The year before was the year he was traded from Denver to San Francisco, where he ended up. It was really cool. So 2 seasons ago, he ended up playing 17 games because he was traded. So he missed his bye week. So he played 17 games that year. So it was great for fantasy.
Here's one for him. 2018 on Denver, playing only 12 games, finished 23rd. So he was an RB. He was a wide receiver 2 with only playing 12 games.
So his points per game, his PPG points per game were pretty good. Anyway, so I think it's great for Josh Allen. I think it'll negatively affect Gabe Davis maybe a little bit because let's put it this way: if Emmanuel Sanders wasn't there, Gabe Davis would be surefire number 2, right?
I think you're right in that it will negatively affect someone. It negatively affects Cole Beasley.
But very possible. Very possible.
Yeah.
If there's one wide receiver who's going to get negatively affected, it's going to be Cole Beasley.
There's other drama around Cole Beasley, so we'll see about that. Marvin Jones Jr. Will he negatively, positively, or not affect the other wide receiver options on that team, being Laviska Shenault, DJ Chark Jr.? Maybe you could throw Travis Etienne in there.
I don't think he's going to affect them.
No, I don't think he's going to affect them.
You don't think so?
No. I think they brought him in. We've talked about this before. They brought him in to probably help out the youngsters there. And with a rookie QB, they want him to build a rapport with the younger guys because Marvin Jones can find himself out of the NFL or like retired next year. So, I mean, he's there to teach the youngsters and bring that veteran presence, but I don't think he's there to take work away from anyone.
I don't know. We'll see. I really undervalued Marvin Jones Jr. last year. As you know, we had a beer bet on it.
We did.
And Marvin Jones Jr. ended up being pretty effective when Kenny Galladay was out as the number 1 option in Detroit. And for all intents and purposes, Laviska Shenault is unproven, as talented as he may be. And DJ Chark Jr. had a really epic half season where he was a top 5 wide receiver in fantasy with Gardner Minshew. So, it's unproven guys there. I don't know. I think it could negatively impact those other 2 receivers. Put it this way. If Marvin Jones wasn't there, I would be looking for sure to draft Laviska or DJ Chark in all my drafts. But with Marvin Jones there, I don't know. I'm okay. I might get one of them, but I'm okay missing out. That's how I feel on that one. Anything else? But it will positively impact Trevor Lawrence. That's for sure. Okay. Last one, AJ Green on the Arizona Cardinals. Positively or negatively impact DeAndre Hopkins and Christian Kirk. Moves his boy Christian Kirk and Kyler Murray.
No.
I think it positively impacts Christian Kirk, and I don't think it affects DeAndre Hopkins.
I think who it really positively affects is all Cincinnati Bengals wide receivers, because AJ Green had like 110 targets last year. So those are all up for grabs. So that's for sure. And I think it positively affects Kyler Murray to have a veteran presence there. And I think positively affects the other wide receivers, both Hopkins and Christian Kirk, and rookie David Moore. Don't forget about the rookie on that team, because I think AJ Green will be. You talk about Marvin Jones in that role as like a veteran leader in the locker room, teaching guys, the young guys. That's going to be AJ Green this year, I think.
Plus, he'll
If
play.
he doesn't know it, you better let him know.
He'll play on the outside, and they'll move Christian Kirk to the inside, where he plays much better. So he's more likely to be used in the slot.
All right, awesome. So that does it for wide receivers. Really quick, running backs, guys. Not a lot of action for running backs. The big one is Mike Davis is an Atlanta Falcon, and we have a sleeper episode dedicated to that. So please go check out our sleeper episodes. But we think he's going to be fantastic. Then other news is Mark Ingram and Phillip Lindsay on Houston with a boatload of other running backs. Rex Burkhead, everybody. Carlos Hyde is a Jacksonville Jaguar, which is exciting for a moment until they drafted Travis Etienne. Now we're like, it's fine. Malcolm Brown is a Miami Dolphin. Devontae Booker's a New York Giant. There's not much else, guys. You know,
Kenyan
at the running
Drake.
back position. Of course, Kenyan Drake to the Las Vegas Raiders. Thank you, Anthony. Kenyan Drake to the Las Vegas Raiders is huge, which we've talked about boatloads on this episode, on this podcast. We think
And
negatively affects.
Did we say James Conner to the Cardinals?
Yeah, that's what I was just going to
and
say.
James Conner to the Cardinals. Thank you. So James Conner to the Cardinals, or Kenyon? Okay, so which one? James Conner to the Cardinals or Kenyon Drake to the Raiders? Which one has more of an impact on that team, positively or negatively?
Well, they both impact. I wouldn't say one impacts more than the other. They both have varying degrees of impact.
So the other running backs on those teams are Chase Edmonds for Arizona and Josh Jacobs for the Raiders. Does the presence of Kenyon Drake and James Conner negatively affect those other running backs, Edmonds and Josh Jacobs?
Yes, in both cases.
Anthony, I mean, I would agree with that. Anthony?
Yeah.
Okay, so But
I am going to stand by and say that on paper, the situation in Las Vegas seems dismal, but they could have a two-headed monster that could be really awesome.
Awesome for fantasy or awesome for...
It could be awesome for fantasy.
Okay.
But, it really would just depend on how they want to run that offense. Because they could have a very high-powered offense. I mean, I don't believe in Derek Carr, but I mean, when you look at their offense, they've got some decent weapons that they could. I mean, we saw it last year. They beat the Chiefs. You know what I mean? So the potential is there. They just gotta string it all together. So I think it could happen.
Yeah. And for me, the other situation is better or more interesting to me, the James Conner and Chase Edmonds situation, because we had heard in the news earlier in the offseason that Chase Edmonds has RB1 potential. And for a moment, we thought he was going to be the guy. They signed James Conner. And I think it's super interesting because James Conner, I think, has a lot of health issues. And I would say keep an eye on it because Chase Edmonds could... Moose might disagree, but I think he could be a league winner midway through the season if James Conner fizzles out.
Yeah, or vice versa. James Conner could be a league winner if he stays healthy.
Yeah,
both could be true. So for listeners out there, you can continue to listen to the podcast and training camp news as training camps open up next week. You'll want to listen to the podcast because we'll update you on things that are going on, but. Those are big, especially that Arizona backfield. I would like to mention Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Kansas City Chiefs lost Lev Bell who's currently still a free agent, and they lost Damian Williams, who opted out last year, so he didn't affect him last year either. But just more room for Clyde Edwards-Helaire, so I think he gets a little bit of a bump, as well as who's the other one I had on the list for a little bump? Rookie Najee Harris, because James Conner is gone. Pittsburgh Steelers drafted Najee Harris. He should be the number one guy there, so he's a rookie that you really want to keep your eye on for redraft this year. Other unsigned notables as of right now, Sunday, July 18th, Adrian Peterson, Todd Gurley, the aforementioned Le'Veon Bell, Larry Fitzgerald. We don't know if he's retiring, signing, coming back, and Dede Westbrook. These people haven't signed, but we think they could have some impact if they sign somewhere. Especially those running backs themselves. We're not super excited about them, like Todd Gurley, Adrian Peterson. We're not super excited to draft them, but they could negatively affect the other running back options on the team they go to. So something to consider. Okay, that was a blast, guys. We rolled through that. Didn't talk much tight ends, but I mean, it's tight ends. We talked about Gerald Everett in the sleeper episode last time. So, all right, Anthony, you're going to get the next segment drummed up while I just mention some other. It's ready. I just want to mention some other notables for super quick for teams. And you tell me true or false here, gentlemen. The Cleveland Browns, with their improved defense, will win the division this year. True or false?
False.
False.
I'm going to go true. Justin Herbert, in front of a new and improved offensive line, will lead the Chargers to the playoffs this year.
True.
True.
I say true. The Arizona Cardinals, with their improvements, J.J. Watt on defense, we already mentioned elsewhere, James Conner, etc. The Arizona Cardinals will finish in the toughest division in football, will finish in a playoff position.
True.
False.
You got Rams, Seahawks, Cardinals, 49ers. So you got to finish third, right, for wild card. I say at least wild card. I say they're true. They're in. But I like it, Anthony. The Las Vegas Raiders, who lost their entire O-line, and the Pittsburgh Steelers, who have a completely revamped O-line, will both miss the playoffs this year.
False.
Yeah, I'm going to go false.
Because Pittsburgh will make it?
Yeah.
All right. I'm going true because I think
they're not going to make it because you didn't back your own team. You backed Cleveland winning the division. So, I mean,
Cleveland and Baltimore are on paper better than Pittsburgh this year. So, trouble. I think they might miss. The Kansas City Chiefs, who completely revamped their O-line and have a phenomenal O-line again, are the clear Super Bowl favorites this year.
Yeah, I think they could go undefeated too.
Yeah,
Ooh, 17 games undefeated?
Yeah, I think they could.
Wow, because also listeners, there's an extra game this year. So everyone's playing 17 games, so it's way harder to go undefeated. It's also a way longer season. I feel like the smart teams who know they're making the playoffs will rest players throughout the year and not worry about the undefeated season. But Chiefs, clear Super Bowl favorite. I go Bucks, so I'm going no for the Chiefs because I think the Bucks are the favorite. The Dallas Cowboys will have an improved defense this year. Let's just assume that's a fact with their draft picks and free agent signings, which will mean that their offense will not need to be the number one fantasy offense. So I'm saying true or false, Dallas Cowboys will not be the number one fantasy offense.
True. That they won't be the... Yeah,
yeah.
True.
So let's say this. Dallas Cowboys finish outside the top 5 in fantasy offense.
No, I don't know if I still think there'll be a top offense.
Okay.
So
you still think top 5? Okay.
Yeah.
Anthony?
Yeah.
Top 5?
I'll take that. Yeah.
Okay. So you're going false. I'll go true just for fun. But I like that. And lastly, I got 2 more. Houston Texans finish bottom of the league this year. Last place.
No, I don't think so.
No, false?
Yeah.
Who's going to finish worse?
The Jets.
Oh.
Dude, Tyrod Taylor's he's still a good quarterback.
Yeah, but the rest of their team? Oh my gosh.
I mean,
they signed so many people. They signed scraps from everywhere. I don't know. I'm going true. Houston Texans are my bottom pick. Be the last place.
Yeah, I'll go true.
All right, let's stamp a beer bet on this one. It's a fun one to stamp a beer bet on.
So you get the rest of the field and we get Houston? Moose always does this. He waits for like the clear beer bet wins. Like, all right, I got the best chance.
Well,
here.
no.
You
Well,
get
no.
the field, we get Houston. Come on, that's not fair.
Oh,
So if
no, so I
anybody
know-
else,
No, I said the Jets.
okay, so it's Houston versus Jets. Whoever
Yeah.
finishes lower,
Yeah.
that I like. That I
Yeah.
like. Anthony, you in?
Okay. Yeah, I'm in.
All right, whoever finishes worst, that's always fun. And last, the New Orleans Saints, who lost Drew Brees and several free agents, will not make the playoffs this year. True or false?
Sorry, say that again.
The New Orleans Saints will not make the playoffs this year.
Yeah, I'll go with true.
Anthony, today.
I'm gonna go. They
going-
will make the playoffs. So
So you're
false.
going false. I'm going true. Love it. That was fun. And now we're going to roll right into our next segment, which is They Said It on Reddit.
Oh, beautiful.
Beautiful.
Is
that
it you enunciated more that time? than
I know.
usual?
I know.
It sounded really.
still really bad singer, but I
Really well
did that. I
defined.
did the best I could.
All right. So this one's coming from user M584. Is Kelsey 6 overall doable?
I'm sorry, who?
Kels.
Yeah, who? Sorry.
So
Sorry, no, who? What's his name?
Travis Kels or Kelsey, or is it a joke, or what is it?
So this is the best part of this Reddit because we missed major headline last episode. Travis Kelsey in an interview for something, I don't remember, let it slip that he everyone's been mispronouncing his name. His name's actually Travis Kels, but everybody calls him Kelsey. And he said the story behind it is his father got fed up of people mispronouncing the name in his day. So people always say Kelsey, 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 but it's really Kels. And he got tired of correcting them. So he just went with Kelsey. He's like, he just didn't stop correcting people and just went with Kelsey. So Travis and his brother Jason, who also plays O-line for the Philadelphia Eagles, we just went by Kelsey and just let it go as well throughout their whole lives. The rest of their family, like extended family, goes by Kels. So whenever, as these guys broke into the NFL, everyone started saying Kelsey and calling them Kelsey. They're like, what's the deal, guys? It's supposed to be Kels. And they're like, eh. So he considers it a nickname. His real name's Kels. Kelsey's his nickname. It's a wild story. Tyreek Hill and Pat Mahomes are already having a lot of fun with it. I think it's outrageous. I'm still going to call him Kelsey. He's okay with being called Kelsey. So, Anthony?
Yeah, I'm going to stick with Travis Kelsey.
Moose, what about you? You call him Kels?
I'll probably interchange when I feel like it.
Just for entertainment purposes. All right, hit us with the Reddit then.
All right. So the header again is Kelsey 6th overall doable. I've done some mocks where I take Kelsey 6th overall in half PPR 12 team with some not bad results on the later rounds. 1 QB, 2 wide receiver, 2 RB, 1 tight end, defense, and a kicker league redraft. Thoughts on doing this? I am relatively new to fantasy football. Thanks.
Okay.
I think we should let Moose take this one because he's a big believer in drafting tight ends early. So is 6
At 6?
too early in 12 team?
I mean, it is a little bit earlier. Is it doable to answer that question? I think 100%. I think Travis Kelsey is a unique tight end in the sense that normally it would be highly considered okay to take a top wide receiver at that position. Travis Kelsey puts up numbers, just as good as any top wide receivers. So in my opinion, taking him there is perfectly fine, but you would need to plan your later rounds to, acquire better running backs and wide receivers. But if it's doable, for sure. However, if you're at 6 or later, I would, obviously try to get it a little bit later on, but there's no way it's coming back. There's no way Travis Kelsey is coming back to you in the second round. So if you really want Travis Kelsey, I think you take him at 6 if you're at 6.
So it's really interesting that he's 6th overall for his pick, because I think we all agree on our top 5, not the order of them, but our top 5 running backs are Christian McCaffrey, Dalvin Cook, Derrick Henry, Saquon Barkley, Alvin Kamara, in no particular order. Right? Those are all our top 5?
Right. Yeah.
And those are all our agreed, top tier. Those are studs. So it's interesting. So we're assuming those 5 guys are gone off the board. So it's a really interesting question. Is it like Travis Kelce's a huge positional advantage? He is getting older. He's coming off a record-breaking year. Can he repeat his record-breaking year? So now you're drafting him at 6th overall. You basically at that point have to have what he did last year. If he's lower than that, like let's say he has a really good year, but Kittle finishes ahead of him. He's like number 2 on the year, Travis Kelce. And now you passed up on a running back like Jonathan Taylor, Nick Chubb, Aaron Jones, Ezekiel Elliott, Austin Eckler. You passed up on one of those guys, and you took Kelce, who doesn't even end up being the number 1 tight end, and it comes back around to you, and now you're taking, in your second round, 19th overall, which will be a running back way down the list. Like we're talking David Montgomery, Chris Carson, something like that.
Pause for a second.
Yeah.
Everything you just said about those running backs everything you just said about Kelce can also be applied to those running backs.
Certainly. So the top,
no.
They can get injured and be out.
So this is what they could get injured. But this is what I was going to say. So we put Kelce, Kittle, and Waller in the same tier. Those guys are going to kill it this year. They're going to be the top 3, and then it's everybody else, with the exception that Pitts, if he is who we all think he is, he'll get there. But that's Kelce, a discussion for 2 years.
But Kelce is sort of, although he's in that top tier with Kittle and Waller, he's a little bit above that. You know what I mean? Like his numbers are quite above that.
But if I go into a matchup with the Kelce owner and I have Waller or Kittle, I'm not thinking that this guy's going to beat me because he has Kelce. I'm thinking that I have just as much of a chance to compete with him at the position. So with that being said, that's how I look at it. So with Dave bringing up the running back situation. So at the 6th spot, when I'm looking at other mock drafts, it's the running backs that you get coming back around to you are guys like Mixon, Najee Harris, Antonio Gibson, Swift, Dobbins. So the drop off is high from the top 6 running backs. So we always say that running backs are a very important position because it gets scarce later on in the draft, and it's hard to find a solid one. So it's hard to find a solid tight end as well, but I would say this guy seems that he's super high on Kelce. But what I would say is, looking at some of my,
that's the determining factor. Is but if he wants Kelce, he has to take him at that 6th position.
But I'm trying to convince him that he doesn't need to go with Kelce. He wants the best at the position. I'm saying that Kelce, if he gets a little bit of a drop off compared to last year, and people forget about Kittle, he was injured last season. Mm-hmm. If he's healthy throughout the season, he could pass Travis Kelce, which he has one season. So, I mean, Kelce there, Kelce at 6, I would say take Kittle on the way back, because I've seen in multiple drafts that Kittle's going at the back end of round 2. So I would say grab Kittle at the 6th spot on the way back.
But
on round 2, and then take top running back in the 1st round.
This is what's tough about the 6th position. Is you really have to know your league, because you could pass on Kelce at 1-6, and it's very feasible that Waller and Kittle go before it comes back to you.
It's possible.
That is a very high reality. So in this situation, and I know this is always the most annoying answer, you got to know your league. You kind of have to know where 7 to 12 is what they're thinking of doing in that 2nd round, and then you'll have a better idea of the risk you can take in passing on Kelce and getting Kittle.
And our Reddit listener is new to fantasy football, so he probably doesn't know his league. He could ask around, but let me propose this to you guys. So let's assume those 5 running backs we named are gone: McCaffrey, Dalvin Cook, Derrick Henry, Saquon Barkley, Alvin Kamara. They're gone. Who's your next favorite running back? Jonathan Taylor,
I have
Nick
Aaron
Chubb?
Jones ahead of Saquon.
Okay, so you like Aaron Jones the best. Moose, who's your next favorite running back?
Yeah, it would probably be Aaron Jones.
Okay, so to you guys, I pose you this. Would you rather have, as a starting 2, Aaron Jones and George Kittle? Or would you rather have Travis Kelce and who'd you say, Anthony? Antonio Gibson? Can we safely put there?
Mixon, Najee Harris, Gibson.
Let's put
going
Joe
early.
Mixon. Let's put Joe
Yeah.
Mixon because Najee Harris is a wild card. Who knows where he's going to go? And I feel like Gibson could go earlier. So would you rather start your league with Travis Kelce, Joe Mixon, or Aaron Jones and
Kittle or Waller?
Kittle or Waller.
Aaron Jones, Kittle or Waller, and every day.
Yeah,
every
me
day.
too.
But again, like I said, I mean, that's a big risk.
Yeah.
That's
So
12. That's 12 positions before you can think about getting Kittle again, or Waller. So if that's the thing, if position 7 to 12, if you have two guys who think like me, that's it. You wanted to have that elite tight end or one of those top three, it's gone.
But so I will say this too. You definitely have to know your league. If this is a league with, if he's in a league without buddies or whatever. So the trend right now, the trend this year is it seems like way more people are going for that draft a tight end early. Like it's always been a thing. You always have that guy that will take Kelce early in leagues.
Yeah.
But I think it's really popular now to do. But at the same time, running backs, and I will say this forever until it's changed for like 2 years in a row, running backs are scarce. And these guys, if they're thinking of drafting tight end early and then like the running backs are just going, even in a 12 team, like we've seen some leagues or some mock drafts even that we've done that there could be a lot of wide receivers in the first round, like 3 or 4, or it could be 1 or 2. So, I mean, you have to follow the draft as well. So like, as the picks are being taken, like understand it's like, oh my gosh, Kelce goes in the first round, like let's say in the 9th spot, chances are you'll get lucky if you get Waller on the back end coming back towards you at that 6th spot. So you gotta, like I said, we've mentioned previous episodes, put players in your queue so you have them there. But I mean, I don't say take Kelce 6.
So let's wrap this all up. I also agree. Is it doable to take Kelce at 6? Yes, but I don't advise it because I mean, unless you really know your league, because I think you might be able to get a good running back on the way back around, but I think it would be way better to secure an elite running back and try to get Kittle or Waller on the way back.
Worth the risk. I agree.
And what did you say last episode, Moose? You said because this user says he has great teams at the end of his mock draft. Mm-hmm. What you mock is not going to be the reality.
It's true. And you never know what's going to happen. So like, for example, like I don't want to ramble on about this too much, but he could take Kelce, 2 more running backs go off the board. And then it's just wide receivers for 12 picks, comes back around, gets an Antonio Gibson, a Cam Akers, maybe something like that. Not the worst. Kelce, Cam Akers. I wouldn't be too upset with that. But again, you kind of got to know what those 12 picks are going to be once it comes back to you.
Yep. Agreed. Awesome. Great. Thanks for that, Reddit, Anthony, and user M484.
Hold on. User.
You're going to be waiting 10 minutes here.
M584.
M584. Loved it. Great question. Thanks for playing fantasy football and get in touch with us with whatever questions you have. Guys, what have you been drinking today? Anthony, you were hitting the Caesar? The Caesar, not the bloody Caesar.
Yeah, the pre-made Caesar, not
That's that
homemade.
bloody Caesar again.
That's that bloody Caesar.
This is extra spicy.
Those are the best ones. Those are pretty solid. The only thing that's missing is the celery salt on the rim. Yeah. I love the celery salt rim, but it's pretty tasty, those extra spices.
Yeah.
Nice, very summery.
I'm just doing a Corona.
In honor of the coronavirus. We're getting murdered.
I would never honor the coronavirus.
Screw the coronavirus. No.
Yeah, it's been terrible for a lot of people. So it would never be honored in this household.
No.
But, the Corona Cerveza is very enjoyable on a summer's day.
Yeah, I like it. Guys, I saw this one. Genius idea. So I know the pandemic's not done yet, but it kind of feels like, we're getting through it. So it kind of feels like a rebirth, a renaissance, like we're allowed to party again. We're allowed to be out in the real world again. Kind of like what it must have felt like in 1921, I think only in the US, when Prohibition was canceled. So this is the 100th anniversary, 1921, Russell Brewing Company, post-Prohibition Pilsner, which I love alliterations as well. Post-Prohibition Pilsner, 1921, anniversary. Love it. Or maybe that must be when Canada canceled it, because then there was a great deal of time where we were Canadians smuggling alcohol into the US for Americans, right?
Canadian Club.
You're welcome. Yeah. So because this is a Canadian brewing company, Russell Brewing,
And
I just love
apparently
it.
Sleeman's, they're very proud of that fact.
Yeah, I mean, you got to get people their beer. You got to get. When we look back on it now, back then you would have been like, "Oh no, how could you do this?" But now we're like, "You did good. You done good, Sleeman, and all these companies, awesome." Any words of wisdom before we part?
Just always put your best gut forward.
And I guess when it's 295 Kelvin, wear sunscreen, but also don't wear sunglasses.
Yeah, or at least
if the
take them
sunscreen
off.
fails,
Take them off
yeah.
for a bit. Get those eyes.
Yeah, so you don't look like I do on YouTube, which is raccoon. But that's okay. I like raccoons. Rocky Raccoon. Great music. Great song, Rocky Raccoon. All right, guys. Well, that's it. Listeners, hope this was an informative episode for you. I know it will be. And stay tuned because we are just getting warmed up as we are quickly approaching the start of the NFL and fantasy season. As always, thanks for listening. See you next time.
Ciao.